Welcome to another video. This is something that I've talked about a lot in the past, I think 3 months, more so than anything else, especially with literally just getting into ads overall. And you have to be a mad scientist with your content. What does that mean? Like being a mad scientist with your content. Like, what do I have to do? Like put chemicals together or something? Shout out to the Bible. But what do I have to do? Do I just have to like put stuff in beakers and heat it up and mix it around and stuff? Like, what do I have to do? It's not necessarily worrying about like chemicals and speakers and stuff, but within content creation, the algorithms are so good and so based off of data these days that you can't just get engagement or people caring about your posts unless you deliberately try to assess your content based upon its performance same day, if that makes sense. So like if I put out a post, right, and it only has like 200 views in comparison to the other pieces of content that have like 2,000 or 2 million views every single day, then obviously there's an issue, right? Maybe people don't resonate with that piece of content. Maybe I need to change the hook. Maybe I need to change the story. Maybe I need to change the call to action. There might be things that you can literally switch around, but there are so many variables within organic content that you can switch around that it makes it so that it almost makes you into a mad scientist. So well, let's talk about the mentality you have to have in order to do this, right? So like you have to be a person that has to be capable of dealing with a lot of failure, okay? Because you can put out a post, you can post something that you genuinely think is gonna go viral, and it does nothing, it flops, which is absolutely terrible. That feeling sucks. I can tell you that's happened to me more often than not. And you have to be the type of person that has a huge amount of perseverance, because when people who persevere, right, especially in the light of failure, more often than not, they have a reason to, right? And for me, it's because I want to help as many entrepreneurs on the planet to create content, and convince them that content creation is going to change their life. You know what I'm saying? Because it changed my life, right? And it can change other people's lives. So my thing mainly is that you have to be okay not only with failure, but also have the capability of knowing what the heck you're trying to do with your social media presence. So that way, keep the aspect of keeping going, the aspect of continuously doing the content or doing the reps or doing the videos or doing the posts overall or the purpose behind it outweighs the amount of pain that you're receiving, right? And probably the last thing within your mental that has to be straight is that you have to have faith, okay? Like, I'm not saying that you have to have like biblical faith or like faith within your own religion or whatever it is, even though that faith is good, but necessarily in the faith that everything's going to work out, because it always does, if that makes sense. Like, I was just literally came from the America Business Forum, and it was absolutely amazing 2 days. Shout out to the guys over there and who made the event happen and whatnot. And what they were talking about was a lot of them were talking about faith, roughly. And I interpreted that obviously as spiritual faith, obviously. But on top of that, that's in faith in self, faith in the process, faith in the market, faith on your instinct, your gut, right? Faith within all those different kind of concepts, because that's what's going to keep you going besides your purpose and besides like being able to fail often, right? So between those three things roughly will create a stronghold, a bulletproof, I should say, mental, in order to do the next thing, which means to become a mad scientist within content creation. But first, what do mad scientists do besides like literally just go crazy, right? They basically, they're wanderers, you know? They test, they are developers, they invent, they create something out of nothing, right? And they do it maniacally, right? So what does that mean for you in content creation? Same thing. That if you see a piece of content or you want to make a piece of content, you make it. If it doesn't work out, then you find another solution. If not, then if that doesn't work out, then you find another solution. And you found this thing and it kind of worked. So then what about this that actually made it kind of work? And then after that, you pick out the qualities that did work. And let's see if we can post it again. Then that post does great again. And then after that one does again, then we found a system from the mad scientist. Right? We already have our mental, we already have the actions that were set in place, so now we're going to talk about the actions. So within a mad scientist, you have to test, bro. You have to test. I don't care what anybody says. You can talk to your mom, your grandma, your sister, your brother, your cousin, your great-grandma. I don't care. You have to test. You have to be able to test. Test these videos. Test these pieces of content. And the purpose is to develop a system where you can genuinely make content on a consistent basis in the same format over and over again, and it hits and resonates with your general population, which is not necessarily a guarantee, especially when you find something, but it can be for a little while. And that's super important to know, because that power alone is being able to figure out how to go viral or how to resonate with a lot of different people for your product or service to be seen, which is absolutely amazing. So my thing is if your marketing department or you as the sole provider of the business overall, shout out to you, first of all. Second thing would be becoming a mad scientist, actions with testing, and then also innovating, right? So like, where does innovation come from? Obviously you test and then you figure out if something works or not. But on top of that, once you develop a system with the science experiment, with developing theories, with literally all the stuff that you develop in the back end, you also have an opportunity to create something new, right? And that's where your creative juices come in, right? Like just like with music, I'll literally give you a story, for example. Like when you're improvising as a musician, whether it be with a saxophone or clarinet or flute or whatever instrument that is that you play as a musician, you're always looking for something more. Like it's never, you don't never use the same language or the same notes or the same passage every single time you improvise. Maybe you might use some sort of amalgamations of it because you've practiced it so much, but you'll never use the same frickin' lines all the time. It'll be there'll be a different chord change or a different chord quality or a different scale you want to use or multiple different notes like stacked up upon against each other. And then you try something new and you find something that you like, right? And then you do it, and then you happen to be playing in front of an audience, improvising, and you happen to see that the audience likes it too. So therefore, what does that tell you? Within a test, I innovated and created this one concept, and people resonated with it. So therefore, I'm going to do it again. And just that overall willingness to go through that strife, to go through that pain, to go through that experimenting, that is so seldom done in entrepreneurship. Like, it's seldom done because everybody's so focused on data, right? A mad scientist loves data, but you know what a mad scientist also loves? Magic, okay? You think about Frankenstein, like in the book, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's putting some beakers, he's heating some stuff up, he's putting chemicals together, bringing this basically rotten corpse to life with electricity, and then he does it. And guess what he does first? He freaking laughs maniacally, like an evildoer. You know what I'm saying? So, if anything, that's more of a reason for you to develop the magic, as Rory Sutherland describes in Alchemy. And how can you develop more versions of magic in your life besides the testing and experimenting? Because I could literally go day after day talking about the experimenting, but that's kind of self-explanatory. You just do something and see what works. Do something and make it better every single time. But as far as the magic concept, which I feel like is super left out, this is the more so some advice from Rory Sutherland and also from my mentors as well that I've heard. And it comes from rest. And it's not necessarily active rest. It can be active rest. It could be a walk. It could be taking your dog out, and it could be playing, some like tossing a ball with your son or with your daughter or whatever. But more often more often than not, the ideas that constitute magic within a business or product or service comes within those periods when we're taking a break or taking a moment away from what we're doing. And Rory Sutherland describes this in one of my favorite books, Alchemy. Probably my favorite point in this book is that you have to have time to yourself, especially throughout the day. So like literally maybe 1 or 2 hours to yourself where you're doing nothing. We're not necessarily just sitting there like a couch potato, but just roughly doing nothing that regarding to your business. Because what happens when you stop working? Also, shout out to the book Rest by Alex Soo Young, I think, or Alex Sung Kim. Yeah, you have to look it up. The book is called Rest. But your brain doesn't stop working. It doesn't stop working when you're resting, which is freaking phenomenal. Like, your brain and your subconscious continuously tries to figure out the problem, even though you're not working on it. And then eventually comes that, that thought of eureka. Like, it's like, oh, eureka! Like, I found the solution to this problem. Which is what also mad scientists do. But also what the best minds in the world do as well. One's followed with, like, action and stuff like that, but that's kind of obvious, right? But I would ask you, out of all of this, I know it's kind of a long video, but I would ask all of you that if you want to get better at content creation, you have to be a mad scientist. Not only within the lab, but also outside the lab. Roughly looking for the data insights, the data analysis that you can create when you're creating content, and the magic that comes from it from just living life overall as every human should. Isn't that a beautiful concept? So why can't you do that? Why can't you do that for your business? Why can't you do that for your life? All you got to do is just pick up a camera and just try. Because that's literally all these platforms are asking for you. Like, just literally try. If you try and try and try and try and try again, you will succeed. Anyway, kind of a long-winded video. I hope you liked the video. If you did like the video, make sure to like and subscribe because it helps out the channel, because I put videos out like this every single day and you don't want to miss them. Also, if you're a business owner that needs appointments and setting appointments and wants an appointment setting system on autopilot and you need help with that, hit the first link in the description and we'll literally talk how we can help you out. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great day. Peace.